But godliness with contentment is great game. For we bought nothing into this world, and we cannot take anything out of this world. But if we have food and clothing, with all these things we will be content. But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation, into a snare, into many senseless and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. It says, for the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. It is through the craving that some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pain. Yeah. So it's just like, if you're steady trying to figure out how to get your money right, and I'm not over here judging anybody, I'm just saying, like, because I've been in that same boat and I can get sidetracked like that too, especially with things being expensive. You just, you can end up thinking about doing some very foolish things. I think one of those things in today's society would be like OnlyFans. A lot of people um, would rather say like, hey, if I can just do this OnlyFans for a while or whatever, that'll pay my bills, and I don't have to work as much, or that can be my side hustle, or this or that, and to where the point where there are PG OnlyFans. That's what I was told. There's like PG OnlyFans that you can make. When I was personal trainer, I mean, I don't know. I never been on there. I'm not giving my money to any OnlyFans people, but there's this guy named Devin. He's like, you should make OnlyFans, and I was like, no, bro, I'm not on that type of thing. He was like, no, like you should just make a PG OnlyFans with you just doing push-ups and then showing your workouts and stuff. And then I thought about it. And then I was married at the time, and I was like, hey, I should, do this. And then she was like, if you make OnlyFans, I'll make OnlyFans. What you got to say to the people, Melchizedek?
Går ut mot kortlinjen. Andra svenskar. Och lägga lite egentligen kring Charlotte.
I don't know what they talking about, but we here to stay. This ain't for play. This talks radio. In and out, up and around, down and out, backwards and forwards. We still stand tall. Talks radio. Kevin West, the best. I got more flavors than Baskin Robbins. You understand me? Chill. What's going on? Tevin West, Talks Radio. That's where you're at. Now, today, I'm at it. I'm at this thing Dolo, and anytime I get on the mic, it's always good. I love having guests on, but anytime I can hit it, by myself, it's always a blast too. You know what I'm saying? I have a lot of personal issues pop up lately as well. I hadn't really posted. I just posted like my first episode in a while, and so I'm just back, getting back in my groove. I ruptured my right patella tendon. That's the joint. That's the tendon that holds your knee into place. I was in a soccer game. I was playing for my senior team, Legion FC Dublin and UPSL. I was playing in Columbus. We were playing against old teammate, actually, head coaches, a teammate of mine from the Columbus Rapids professional indoor soccer team. Also, I had two teammates, Clayton Adams and Devontae Mitchell, who had played at with me at the Rapids. So it was just kind of full circle, all out there. Plus the former owner, one of the minority owners, he had the shirt sponsorship on our team, on our kit for the Rapids. He was there too. Shout out Randall, call him Boog. Anyway, it was a free kick that was played in my box. It was high and hanging, so I went to go get it. And then when I went to go get it, there was this tank of a man who was in the box, and the only reason I went, it was on the edge of the 18, and the only reason I went to go get it is because of one of the last goals. The last goal it was 3-3. We were deadlocked. I was balling, but the last goal that was scored, it was a set piece that was played across my face. I wasn't really to blame for that goal, but I felt like if I had just came and collected it, I could have saved myself some trouble or not gotten scored on. But Daniel scored a great header, but it went back post hoop. So I went and get the ball. 6'4" dude and pushed me to the left. He didn't push me; he just kind of nudged me. But his force was so much while I was moving, and he pushed me to the left. I had these Under Armour boots on. They have longer studs than usual. That was in turf, and grass would naturally push your leg out. So the most I would have just fell or something. But I got my boots got stuck in the turf, and body went one way, knee went to the right, but it didn't fully extend all the way out. So my boot was lodged into the turf, and my knee, just my patella tendon, which is the thing that holds your knee in place, it just separated and pulled all the way up, and my knee, popped out of socket and went down below my socket, and I just went down and I screamed some not so Christ-like things, brother. Oh, but yeah, I mean, it's a ruptured patella tendon. I got surgery on Tuesday, so so the 16th of April. Yeah, so I just been living life. I had to move all my stuff from my apartment on 96 to my apartment here off Moody on one leg. My dad helped me though, but I didn't come here to talk about that. I just just want to tell you what was going on with your boy. You know what I mean? I had recently put up a podcast with Brandon Farmer, up and coming musician in the town, and yeah, and I also I have a YouTube now, Talks Radio, Tevin West, you know what I mean. I'm starting to upload videos over there but not video, just audio. I just spreading it out, if you will. But today is full blown, or tonight. It's tonight. That's why I sound the way I do. Tonight is full blown. The public reading of Scripture. I wanted to go over a scripture that I saw, and I want to talk about it with you guys. It's I just wanted to clarify, why I do this. Let's see here. It says 1 Timothy 4, chapter 4, verse 13. And it says, "Until I come, devote yourselves to public reading of Scripture, to exhortation, which means to encourage, to teaching, and do not neglect the gift that you have, which was given to you by prophecy when the council of elders laid their hands on you." So practice these things, immerse yourself in them, so that you may see your progress. Keep close watch on yourself and on the teaching. Persist in this, for by doing so you will save both yourself and your hearers. And so that is my reason why I do that. Scripture commands us to use the gifts that we've been given. And so today I want to stick in in the book of 1 Timothy. And I want to talk about this verse that is very much misused and misconstrued so much. And I just feel like I had to come on the pod and talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So it's 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10. Timothy chapter 6, verse 10. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. It is through this craving that some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pangs. So I wanted to talk about that verse, and mainly like just a little slither of the verse, the first sentence. For the love of money is a root of all kind of evils. So I was talking with a family member a few years ago, but not just this family member. It was just like, I've been hearing it, you know what I'm saying? It was just like, that person was just like, yeah, money is the root of all evil. And we were around family members, amongst family members, and I didn't want to correct that person. That person was an elder, it's a person I have respect for. So I didn't want to like correct them in front of everybody, you know what I'm saying? But I was a lot younger then too. But Now that I look back at it, maybe I should have said something. You feel me? Because that 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 verse is taken not out of context. It isn't taken out of context. It's just misused. Um, I guess I have a problem with it because there are people that don't even adhere to the lifestyle of being a Christian. They don't even try. They don't even read the Bible. Haven't cracked open the Bible since the Bush administration, the first Bush. You know what I'm saying? And I just came on the pod to say, like, if you're gonna say it, get it right. Money in itself is not evil. Money in itself is not like inherently evil. It's a tool. It's a tool, and how you use it, it depends on how you use it. That's how it goes. The only time it becomes an issue is when you center your whole like motivation on it, on getting it. The love, it's the love of money that is gonna drive you into places to do all types of things that you probably would rather not do. Um, I was having a conversation with a coworker maybe 2 years back, and it was like he's a believer, and he was like, God didn't call, you know, the believers of this age to be rich. And I looked at him and I said, "What?" Yeah, like God in his family, like in his family, I'll just to keep it short, there's money. Like this man was telling me like, "Oh yeah, God didn't call people to be rich that are believers, not in this age." Let me help you out. Help you out here. For those of you that are misinformed, and really, I'm not even talking to people that don't believe. If you don't adhere to Christianity, that's fine. Just hear me out. But to the believers, I'm talking to the believers. Like that is not true. Don't go around saying like, "Oh, like God doesn't want me to be rich." It's not a prosperity gospel. Like, but God does want you to thrive. And if He just happens to bless you with money, or a situation where you can get a money in lump sum, you should take it and you should be a good steward of it. Um, when I think of rich Christians in the Bible, in the New Testament to be specific, if you want to go there, I mean we can talk, I mean, well, before we even do that, let's just talk about the people that God had blessed in the begin. The patriarchs were all rich. Hey, Jenny and Rhonda, got you some protein over there from the store. No, I'm vegan right now. I can't. Me too, Katie. I can't do. But it's plant based. What's up, it's your boy. None is a tasty way to get some protein with tender chitlins and fried okra, hot sauce, and fatback. New, but it's plant based. West Side Protein. Somebody get shawty. Hey, somebody get shawty. Some plant based protein. Hey, Grandma Jessie, man. West Side Protein is not responsible for the actions that we may say regarding plant based. We don't really know if it's plant based or not. We just said it because everybody else said it. We're not responsible for your death. Abraham was rich, coming out of Mesopotamia. It says, the Bible says he was rich in gold and silver, and he had men trained up in his houses. He had like 200 and something men like go out and fight a war against like some kings to rescue his nephew Lot. You know what I'm talking about? His son Isaac was rich, and his son Jacob, and his grandson Jacob was rich. You know what I'm saying? These people were wealthy people. They were not poor people. God had blessed them with money and power and respect. You know what I'm saying? Joseph, who was sold into Egyptian slavery, ended up being the prime minister of Egypt. Rich. You know what I'm saying? Boaz, who was the kinsman redeemer for Ruth, in the book of Ruth, her husband died. Naomi, which is her mother-in-law, came back to Israel from like modern day Jordan, I think, Moab, yeah. And you know, Boaz was a I think he was like I think he owned a bunch of wheat fields. So he was a rich guy. Like he owned fields. You know what I'm talking about? He had his servants go like watch out for Ruth, while she was picking up barley and stuff, or not barley, but wheat. Um, these people, like some of these people that God had entrusted, his spirit with, and Daniel became, like, I think, second in command in Babylon when he was in captivity, like wealthy. You know what I mean? So that's on the Old Testament side, but on the New Testament side, people was, well, that was Old Testament. Christians aren't called to be. Dude, listen. The one of the first Gentile converts. I'm not sure if he was the first or second, but the Italian army officer. I think he was either an officer or a colonel. I forget his name, but he had an axe. Peter had a dream, and he was lodging in Joppa with Simon the tanner, and he had a dream. Basically, God was like, "I'm gonna give my spirit to the Gentiles," and Cornelius, that was his name, Cornelius. He was like a Roman colonel or something like that, of the Italian cohort. Um, those guys have money. Like he became a Christian. Like he became a Christian when Peter met up with him and shared the gospel with him and his whole household. The Ethiopian eunuch that Philip had met, I think Philip was traveling down a road or somewhere in Acts, and Ethiopian eunuch, who was endowed to Candace, who was queen of all the eunuchs of Ethiopia, I guess. He was reading the scroll of Isaiah. You know what I mean? And Philip pulled up on him and interpreted what it meant about, Jesus. It was a prophecy about Jesus. So he was, if he's, he's riding in a chariot reading, you know what I'm saying? The scroll of Isaiah in ancient times. What you think? Balling out of control. The point I'm trying to make is, God did not call you to be poor. It, as a matter of fact, in scripture here, in First Timothy, it says, in First Timothy, verse 17, it says, it's in, still chapter 6, verse 17. As for the rich in this present age, charge them not to be haughty, nor to set their hopes on the uncertainty of riches, but on God, who richly provides us with everything to enjoy. Okay? They are to do good, to be rich in good works, and to be generous and ready to share, thus storing up treasure for themselves as a good foundation for the future, so that they may take hold of that which is truly life. Okay? The saying right there, like, there are rich Christians, like Aquila and Priscilla, who were in Acts. They were supporting, I think, Paul's missionary journey. Rich people, they were donating to the church, to the early church. Lydia, the seller of purple goods, when Paul and Timothy were when Paul and Silas had touched down in Philippi, which is modern day Eastern Greece. They were out in the town, and I think they were sharing the gospel or something of that nature, and Lydia had heard it. It said God opened Lydia's heart to receive the gospel, which I think is immense, because in the New Testament, in one of the Gospels, Jesus says that it's really hard for a rich person to get into heaven because They trust in their riches. Like, it's harder for a rich man to get into heaven than it is for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. So it just the fact that God opens up the heart of Lydia, who is, when you say the seller of purple goods, like, bro, like purple goods is like anything purple associated with purple in the ancient days is like associated with royalty. You feel me? So people that, at least, if they had money, they were gonna get something purple because purple associate you with being rich and wealthy and royalty. So she's selling in bulk. You feel me? Like, she bubbling up. So it says God opened up her heart to receive the gospel. So it's like God does bless. God does save rich people. I don't know how else to say that. It's just that whenever it can be very tough because that person could put their trust in their riches. You know what I'm saying? It's just like when I think Jesus was talking to the rich young ruler, and he was just like, they got down to the meat and the bones of the conversation, and pretty much Jesus was like, okay, like, you done all these things, sell everything you have to the poor, and then you know, come route with me. Then you can come route with me. And he walked away sad, for he was very rich. And it was like he walked away because he was sad because his riches was his treasure. And it says, wherever your treasure is, that's where your heart is. So it's just like, it's not saying that rich people can't get into heaven. It's not saying that rich people that don't believe on the Lord. It's just saying that there are a lot of people that, there's a verse in the Bible that says, like, Lord, don't give me too much money to where I forget and say, who is Lord? But don't make me super poor to the point where I gotta steal and profane your name. Just, what I'm saying, godliness with content is great gain. You know what I'm saying? It it says right here, even before that verse and for love of money is root to all kinds of evil. It says in verse 6, um, but godliness with contentment is great gain. For we bought nothing into this world, and we cannot take anything out of this world. But if we have food and clothing, with all these things we will be content. But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation, into a snare, into many senseless and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. It says, for the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. It is through the craving that some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pain. Yeah. So it's just like, if you're steady trying to figure out how to get your money right, and I'm not over here judging anybody, I'm just saying, like, because I've been in that same boat and I can get sidetracked like that too, especially with things being expensive. You can end up thinking about doing some very foolish things. I think one of those things in today's society would be like OnlyFans. A lot of people um, would rather say, like, hey, if I can just do this OnlyFans for a while or whatever, that'll pay my bills, and I don't have to work as much, or that can be my side hustle or this or that, and to where the point where there are PG OnlyFans. That's what I was told. There's like PG OnlyFans that you can make. When I was personal trainer, I mean, I don't know. I never been on there. I'm not giving my money to any OnlyFans people, but there's this guy named Devin. He's like, you should make OnlyFans, and I was like, no, bro, I'm not on that type of thing. He was like, no, like, you should just make a PG OnlyFans with you just doing push-ups and then showing your workouts and stuff. And then I thought about it. And then I was married at the time, and I was like, hey, I should, do this. And then she was like, if you make OnlyFans, I'll make OnlyFans. So I was like, no, I'm gonna do that. But yeah, I mean, I could see somebody with much intent, to keep it PG or whatever, to just maybe pop up and do some things or whatever. But then who knows, it could die, it could go into something even more deeper, you know what I'm saying? I know, for instance, like, it's not even all just like the money. It could be like the things that come with it. It could be intoxicating. And um I know that for some people, a lot of people, myself included, like when that paycheck hits, sometimes like you're like, and if you got, you're like, man, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. But we think that's what saves us, like, is the money. But and we think that's what takes care of everything. There's a phrase that I have been hearing like my whole life, and I always wanted to talk about it, and I think I have the time to talk about it now. It's just like, I would hear people say throughout my like life, like, oh man, like if I could just hit the lottery, you know what I mean? Like, what would you do with $1 million? What would you do, this and that? Like, and it's just like, when I think about it now, it's like, man, people really don't. I know people sometimes they just be joking and stuff, but some people just be for real. Like, man, if I could just hit the lotto, everything would be okay. People think like you don't realize like the money is not gonna, like, people like could people unalive themselves all the time, and they have plenty of money in the bank. You know what I mean? There was a Wall Street banker or something like that. Like, he was living like at the top floor of like a penthouse, and he just like he literally just threw himself off the balcony. You know what I'm saying? Of his like really high penthouse. You know what I mean? There was this beautiful beauty pageant model, and she threw herself off her roof to, and it's like, Heath Ledger, same thing. Like, he had done so well, he's been doing so well, all these movies. He had just come off of, making the Joker Dark Knight movie. But, like, it still didn't stop his substance abuse. It still didn't stop, what I'm saying, all the issues he had going on. Um, I know specifically like where I work, on a military base, it's like the golden goose job. You know what I'm saying? It's like the job that everybody's gunning to get. Um, on the outside of the gate is how they say it. But we have the it's like it has one of the highest suicide rates. That area, like, working in that or working on that military base, has one of the highest suicide rates of any base, of any Air Force base in America. So it's like people want to get that job so bad, and then like they don't realize like they want to get it because of the money and the title and the status and stuff like that that could come with it. But it's just like they don't realize like there are people that are there that are so disgruntled that they like don't want to live anymore. You know what I mean? So I just like, money, it doesn't cure like things. It may ease certain things, but like, if you don't have a peace that passes all understanding, then it doesn't matter how much money you have. You're never gonna be at peace. You know what I mean? That's why it's like, that high. Like when you get that, pretty sure like when you bet, or you doing other things to get money at an alarming rate. It's that rush. It's that rush. It's that rush. You get it, and then it goes away, and then you gotta chase that high again. And it's like now it's like that's become like the main thing. That's become the main thing. You're just trying to chase that high to get that money. You know what I mean? Maybe to upkeep a lifestyle or something as well too. You know what I mean? Maybe because a lot of things in America, like, we think it's a need, and it's not. Like, like when Christmas comes around, if you got kids, you know what I mean. I remember this past Christmas, I I dropped a pretty large amount of money on my kid's Christmas. My son is 11 months old. He's about to have a birthday coming up. He ain't gonna remember that. I got him this limited edition Buzz Lightyear sweater off Poshmark for like $30. But in reality, like, he ain't gonna remember that. Like, that was for Tevin. That wasn't for Melchizedek. That was for Tevin. You know what I mean? There was some nice, cool, um, designer shoes that I saw for him. Like, I forgot what they were, but they were some really nice shoes. I think it was like some Prada shoes or something like that. But that wouldn't have been for him. That would have been for me. You know what I mean? So I had to pause on like, where am I putting where am I putting that at? Like, where's my treasure at? Like, is it, because it's like the Bible says, like, don't store up treasures on earth. You know what I'm saying? Where moth and rust, like, eat away at it. You know what I'm saying? And you got to protect it and to like store your treasure up in heaven. It's okay to have money. It's okay to have things, but don't put your hope in that. You know what I mean? There's too many people that put their hope in material wealth. You know what I'm saying? It's too many people that put their hope into what they can see, touch, smell, and hear and taste. You know what I mean? Um, that lifestyle can be just kind of dangerous because you just kind of teeter in the line. Now, I'm not saying like if you're a believer that can like put your salvation in danger. No, it's just that you'll probably spend your life chasing after things that are useless instead of chasing after things that could add value. You know what I mean? It's so funny. We pay for like a shoe that costs like $150, $200. It costs like not that much to make that shoe, bro. It costs like maybe $2 or something like that to make that shoe overseas because it's outsourced most of the time. And then they literally upcharge you like triple, double to pay for like for to pay to make a profit off the shoe. And we take it. Like we take that. We take I can't get into that, but we take that. Like we literally just say, okay, we're gonna pay for that. You know what I mean? And I understand people like brands, but I always think of it like, okay, like dang, like it did not cost that much to make this phone or this product or anything like that. They're gonna upcharge the crap out of us, and we're gonna pay for it. And like obviously, like there's things that you need as necessities, but like just like the extras, you know what I mean? Like if someone's like a shoe fiend, and then the thing about it is the resale culture is crazy too, because like you could have that same shoe that be like $200 or something like that. You buy it, people will buy that shoe and hoard it and hoard it and hoard it. They'll hoard those shoes, and then time will pass, and people kind of like rose colored glass that shoe. Like, oh, I remember when that shoe came out. Like in my particular time, like the Space Jam Jordans 11s came out, and it was like $176 back then. It was like 2010 when the re-release came out, and now those shoes are, the people that resellers, like they'll resell those shoes for like, gosh, like $500, $600, and some people are going for it, bro. People are going for it, and that's just like that's a love of money issue thing. That's like a love of material wealth things. You know what I mean? That's what they're talking about. Like you ruin yourself. Like you could put yourself in a hole trying to pay for that type of shoe. You know what I'm talking about? What up? It's your boy. And this is a PHA, you know what I'm saying? Player hater announcement. It's probably someone trying to jack you, hack you for all your videos right now. So you got to make sure you keep your game tight. I'm talking about enterprise grade security built into the site and fully managed for you, like Jerry Heller managed NWA. Westside Cybersecurity. We keep the jackers, scammers, the robbers, whatever you want to call it, the shy stealers off of your mail. Look for us in. And so, for me, I just like like with the soccer culture, right? Like, and when I'm talking about money and things like that, I'm not like it's not even like you got to understand it's not always like about making the money. Sometimes it's about like spending the money. That can be a love of money thing too. That's why I'm saying it. Like it's not just you collecting money, you working yourself to death or whatever side hustle, whatever. I mean, it's just kind of expensive, so you kind of get along. But like spending the money too, you know what I'm saying? Like certain things like we think we need with like okay, for instance, like soccer. Like I there's only been one time I paid out of my pocket for a boot, which is a cleat, but a boot that was over $90. I bought like some Adidas Predator X. It's that it's that boot that was like back in 2015. It was like green and had those kind of like groovy little little cement specks things going on. They had them in leather and synthetic. I had the red version though, right? Um, it was leather and it was on clearance at in Atlanta, the soccer store. It was like $123. I bought it in January 2020. I still have those boots. I had to glue them back at the bottom. I had to glue them back. That's how long I. But that's how long I'll keep a shoe that I spent money like that on. You know what I'm saying? Or I'll wear a boot and I'll wear it down to the nut. But there's only been like two occasions where I paid $90 for some Addy Pure twos. I didn't pay for my parents gave it as a birthday gift back in like oh 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 nine 2010 something like that. And and then that Addy Pure boot. But other than that, like it'd be like $60, $70, $80. And I usually find like a boot in Ross or something. And another thing, like I bought some Under Armour boots. I got hurt in Under Armour boots again. I always tear my leg up in Under Armour boots. I don't know, understand. I think that's a sign, but I love Under Armour boots, man. I love Under Armour soccer boots for real, for real. But I just in the soccer culture, it's huge. Like boots are so expensive, bro. Like I had a friend of mine when I was going on professional trial like combines. A friend of mine was working at a client of mine actually. I was working at Anytime Fitness, and they knew about me. I was going over do combines in Texas, and I was going to do a combine in Texas, professional combine, and they bought me some Nike Tempos, and those boots are $221, and she spent it like it was not, and I it's appreciated. So she falls in line with the be rich in good works and be ready to be generous and ready to share. And she did a good work. So that's like a positive thing about it is like, and her family owned like a wine store in the town. So it's just like she was very generous to me and I appreciate it. So she was very generous, and that's what I'm talking about. Like if you're I do not like telling people what to do with their money. So I'm not doing that. I'm just coming out here speaking my piece about, it's full blown the public reading of scripture, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like if you're gonna, most of the time you should try to be generous, you know what I mean? And it's not just like it's like people that are non believers adhere to this too, you know what I mean? Obviously for tax purposes or other reasons, but like Oprah gave away cars. Like you get a car, you get a car. You know what I'm saying? Montel Jordan would give away things on his show. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that are successful and rich, and they give to charities and stuff, like Bill Gates and stuff. And these people don't believe they don't believe in God at all. You know what I mean? Or they believe in something else. So there's something to it about being generous with your wealth. You know what I mean? Whether it's for carnal reasons or whether it's for other reasons, you know what I mean? Non carnal. But there's something to being generous with your wealth. And it just I think it just helps in the I think in the human realm it helps you take the focus off yourself, and it helps you be a little more selfless, you know what I mean? And it helps build up a certain type of character in you. But on the other side, like on the spiritual side, if you're a believer, you know what I mean, it literally helps you store up treasures for yourself. As a it says, but thus storing up a treasure for themselves as a good foundation for the future, so that they may take hold of what is truly life. So it's like, like if you're a believer, you know, when you meet with the Lord, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. You have rewards that you will receive, gifts that you will receive, you know what I'm saying, from the Lord from what you did on earth. You know what I mean? And it's important that you store up those treasures more than you store up the earthly treasures, which will like be eaten by moths and rust. You know what I mean? And so, uh, I didn't really have anything else to say to that. It was just more of like, I just really, I'm not really, I do not really like when people especially people who don't even care about the Bible. Like they just be like, money is the root of all evil, or you have like some super left wing person that's just like, eat the rich. You know what I mean? It's just like you don't even know. You're just now you just want to take from them, and you want it because you just see it. Now you're coveting, which is also like a sin. So it's almost like people that are super rich, they'll be like, I'm rich, whatever, I don't have to do anything. And then the people who aren't rich are like, I want what that person has. You know what I mean? And so they just say goofy things like, money is the root of all evil and all that stuff. I tend to see like, because there can be like, you can not have a lot of money and be greedy. Like a lot of people that don't have a dollar to their name are some of the greediest. You know what I mean? Why they're steady calling people that have money like greedy, and that can be true too. But there are a lot of people. There are a lot of people that don't have money that are greedy, and there's people that have a lot of money that are generous. You know what I'm saying? And so, um, I just noticed like there's very little contentment. There's very little like, I'm content with where I'm at. You know what I mean? In terms of that, which because I know because it can be kind of tricky, because contentment can turn into like bitterness, where it's like and apathy, where it's like I don't really care anymore. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of like, honestly, that's kind of where I'm at. Like I have to balance, like, because I'm at this point in my life where it's like super 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 uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like just with everything in life, like with my injury and just work and going through the divorce and everything, like, and then just like the early stages of podcasting. I haven't even been doing podcasting for a year, and it's work. You have to do this, a lot, all the time, and the moment you slow down is the moment you lose momentum, and it's just gonna be hard with real life, and not everything's going how you want it to go. So it's like for me, like I have to be careful, is because I am content, but also like I could see that turning into, and it has at times, I have to wake myself up, like apathy, where it's like I'm content, but I don't care. I think that's probably one of my biggest sins, is apathy, like in a spiritual sense and in a life sense, where I kind of throw my hands up and say I don't care, because sometimes it can get very very difficult to maneuver, and it's hard to express that to people without coming across as complaining or being super angry or resentful or bitter. And you don't want to spew your hurt all over people. That's just not cool. Even like, I have a therapist, you know what I mean? I'm very careful about just dumping all my load onto that person. You know what I mean? I'm not really one that thinks like when you go to a therapist you can just unload on the person. Like that's a real person. They're not a robot. And I also like, I'm not like, that person isn't gonna fix me. Like I have to do some soul searching myself, you know what I mean? So um sometimes, a lot of times I don't really open up about it, you know what I mean? And so it just kind of creates like this little roundabout circle where you just kind of hold things into your chest and you don't say much, because you don't know if it's going to come out right. And so that's where the apathy comes from. So, but I'd like to turn it into like content. Godliness with contentment is great gain, but a lot of times, because I'm human, it turns into apathy. Very little does it turn into covetousness for me. Like I don't really be coveting people's stuff like that. If I see something like, dang, okay, that's inspiration, that's motivation to get it. You know what I mean? Very little do I covet what somebody else has, bro. I've already been through a situation, in my life where somebody was coveting what I had, and they took what I had because they were coveting it. So I have just like decided in my heart that I wasn't gonna covet something just because I didn't have it. That I didn't want to. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to put that in my body. I just wanted to say like, okay, if it's something I want, if it's something that I desire, um, but first of all, I'd have to like, in James it talks about how you ask, you do not ask because you do not receive because you do not ask, and you do not you don't know how to ask either. It's like you're asking, and it's not given to you because your desires are like sinful. You know what I mean? And you want these desires because of your selfishness. And so I just had to like check myself at the door before I like maybe go to God about it. I say maybe. Wow. Um, mm, yeah. I stopped myself right there because really, I said it earlier in a few of the way back in a few podcasts back, but this is like electronic journaling for me. You know what I mean? It's 12:08 a.m., so it's like the next day I gotta get up and go to work in a few hours. But it's been my relationship and my walk with God has been very tough these few weeks and months. Um, just going through everything. Divorce is like a form of death, especially when it's not something that you really necessarily wanted. It's what you know, the, the other party wanted. So it's like, you have to move up forward amicably and with respect, of course, before I go in forward with respect, of course. But it doesn't change the fact that, it does something. And I've done my best to not let it make me bitter. But, you know, OCS, in the talks, only child syndrome, those, I don't know. It's just a theory, but, it's just like one of those things like where like I've always kind of been to myself. And so but I've always tried to avoid being like with myself because I had so much time as a kid. Parents, I was like a latchkey kid or whatever. But I always try to like go to my friend's house and see what they were doing, whatever, whatever. But I was alone most of the time. And then when I got older, like I was on teams and stuff, and I went to college, had a roommate, lived with my parents, um, roomed with some Air Force Academy grads, got lived back with my mom for a little while, got married, and I basically this is my first time like being by myself, and it gets lonely. Um, not like oh I'm looking for a partner or somebody. No, like I need this time, guys. Like I need to be solitude right now. It's just especially like the injury and stuff just happening and stuff, and I'm about to go into surgery. Being basically forced to sit down, for about 6 months. I'm gonna rehab and I'm still working out and stuff like still working out, eating right, taking care of myself. So I'll always keep my game tight. Don't get me twisted, but you know, these are the moments where I just had to learn how to tap in with God, and there have been times like I'm not gonna lie, like there have been times like he's strengthened me. You know what I'm saying? And reaffirmed and reestablished me. And then there are times where I'm just like kind of like low key sulking, like self loathing, which I don't do, brother. I don't really do self loathing, but there are just moments where I just like this past weekend with everything happening, I had to move and stuff, and I was just on my leg, like one leg. It was just a lot, and you know, um, I had to do taxes and stuff like that, just doing adulting stuff, and um sparsely being able to see my son because I was just so busy and stuff like that. It just kind of like got to me, and I just felt like I just failed in terms of continuing establishing a consistency of relationship with the Lord and seeking His face every day. Like I just felt like I've been failing in that. Like I'm just gonna keep it real. Like I've come up short, you know, in more ways than one. And but I'm the thing is like I don't think I'm mad with God or man or woman or bitter. I'm just apathetic, you know? Like kind of like there are times where I mentally like kind of throw my hands up and just be like whatever. And there were, it was just this was like one day I was just like where my like little prayer closet and cuz I was like in between like like last week I was in a holding spot. Like I hadn't moved all the way over to my apartment yet, so I was like in a holding space basically. Like um and so I had all my stuff just like packed up in a space. Shout out to Brandon Berger, he let me stay in a space where he wasn't in his space where he wasn't. And I just had all my stuff like packed up and stuff, like still bagged up and stuff. And I just like when my little prayer closet, man, I always find like a little whatever closet. I just go, and I just was like on all fours, bro. And I was just like bawling, crying. 'Cause I was just like, it's too much to bear. You know what I mean? Like things that I'm going through. I was like, man. And at that time, I hadn't even messed up my leg. I hadn't even messed up my leg yet. And I was just like, this is a lot, Lord. I can't take it. I'm not at all equating my situation to Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, where he was sweating blood. But I'm not doing that at all. That's not even where I'm going with it. I'm just saying, like, the trial, like in James, when it says, like, do not be surprised when a fiery trial comes among you. Like, I don't think we really understand, like, what that means because, it's, like, especially, like, in America, because, like, life of ease for sure. Not saying life of ease doesn't come with troubles, but I hadn't really, I don't really feel like I had came across like super hard trials until recently. Like I'm in the thick of life right now, guys. And it's very difficult for me right now. And so, yeah, um, I just kind of broke down, and then from there, it was like like a continuation of like just being low key apathetic. You know what I mean? I've cried all the tears I'm gonna cry about the situation. So I'm not like over here crying and bawling. That was just a moment where it was like, man, it's too much to bear. Um, you know. Um, Also like I had gotten this, like how like elders in your family, like I don't know how y'all, but like in my family, like everybody got their 2 cents if they know your situation and you talking to them. It's not a you just talking with them. You know what I'm saying? And they're hearing you out. They're telling you what to do, and if you don't listen to them, you're not doing it right. And it's just like it came to a head like with my grandmother, like Jay. Um, and we're not speaking right now. And she's pretty pissed off at me. She should be. But I just felt like I wasn't being heard. I felt like nobody was really listening to me in the family. Like so it was just like if I don't say anything anymore either. I also felt like manhood was just being attacked at certain times and like I just felt like I wasn't being seen as a man I was just being seen as like a disrespectful child or something like that. You know what I mean? But I'm a 30-year-old man, and I just want to be seen as a 30-year-old man. I don't want to be seen as a 12-year-old child, because that's the feeling I get whenever I talk to like my family. They always look at me through the lens of being like a 12-year-old child, and I don't act like a 12-year-old child. You know what I mean? I I take care of my responsibilities. You know, it's just that, like when you're going through your situation in life, like either they think they've been through it, or they can't relate to the point to where they're just saying like, you need to be a man. And it's hard to have a conversation with that type of energy. It can be very difficult. And that type of stuff can keep you up at 12, 18 hours before you gotta go to work. But that was all I really had, public reading of scripture. Um 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evils. It is through this craving that some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pangs. Yeah, it's the love of money that's going to kill you. It's the love of money that's going to drive your heart away from God. It's not money itself. It's the identity. It's what's behind it. It's the idea behind it. What do you like? Are you chasing it? Because it's gonna grow like eagle's wings and sprout away. You can't take it with you when you die. So yeah, while it's totally fine to have it and enjoy it on this earth, don't let that be your main motivator. Don't let that be your main driver as a believer. It can be a very, very lonely, meaningless life if you just put money. Even people that I was just talking about this in another one of my episodes. Like, if you are a person who puts, which is a large majority of this country, if you're a person who puts money, like chasing money over your health, you're seriously misguided. And that was acceptable 25 years ago, 30 years ago, early 2000s, 90s, and stuff like that. But it's not acceptable anymore for you to put your money over health, even with the economy. Like, I'm just saying from a human perspective, like, that's not even a spirit. Like, if you put your money over your personal health, like, you're playing with your life. So if it's a bad idea to put if it's a bad idea for you, it's objectively a bad idea. If it's objectively a bad idea to put money over your health, your bodily health, how much more foolish is it for you to put your health or put money over your spiritual health? This has been 7 West on Talks Radio, full blown, the public reading of scripture. You have a good night.
You are tuned in to Talks Radio. tuned in to tOCS Radio.